Okay, here we are in our third chapter, uh, which is reading and comprehension. Uh, in this chapter, we will be discussing how and why reading and comprehension is important when you are becoming a professional in IT sector. So the learning outcomes of the lesson are to identify different sources of reading, analyze documents using different reading methods and techniques, and to use mind maps to represent the content of a document. First subtopic we will be talking about are what the different sources of reading are. Skills required in efficient reading comprehension. So there are 9 skills considered as basic skills when you are doing the reading comprehension. So technically why we are doing this lesson is to not to grasp the details of this lesson particularly, but to know how to do a comprehension or a reading comprehension. So rather than trying to understand what is technically in the words in the slides of this presentation or this lecture, try to grasp the skills and to evaluate whether you have those skills, or if you don't have the skills, how you are going to acquire the skills and so on. So the aim of this entire lesson is for you to acquire the reading comprehension skills. So make sure that you take this lesson in that perspective. Okay, so the 9 basic skills considered to be the basic skills of reading comprehension are knowing the meaning of words, ability to understand meaning of a word from discourse context, ability to follow organization of passage and to identify antecedents and references in it, ability to draw inference from a passage about its content, ability to identify the main thoughts of a passage, ability to answer questions answered in a passage, ability to recognize the literacy devices and propositional structures used in a passage and determine its tone, to understand the situational mood conveyed for assertions, questioning, commanding, referencing, and etc. And finally, the ability to determine writer's purpose, intent, and point of view, and draw inferences about the writer. Right? So thereafter, there are some additional skills that you have to acquire. Ability to comprehend text in influence. Comprehend text is influenced by readers' skills and their ability to process information. If word recognition is difficult, students use too much of their processing capacity to read individual words, which interferes with their ability to comprehend what is read. There are many reading categories to improve reading comprehension and inferences, including improving one's vocabulary, critical text analysis, and practicing deep reading. So, introduction to different sources of reading. There are different sources. There you can read books, you can read articles, and so on. So, let's see what are the different sources of reading. Different types of documents hold information in different ways and include varying depths of coverage. Right? So, if you know what you want from an article and recognize its type, you can extract useful information much more efficiently. So before reading, you have to identify what you want actually, or rather to identify your requirement. And then finding articles or books or the reading materials accordingly will help you extract useful information efficiently. So the different sources can be articles in a reference book. It could be a chapter from a book, can be academic, scholarly, or peer-reviewed articles, popular magazine articles, newspaper articles, websites, or something similar. Primary sources. Primary sources include original content, first-hand information and accounts, raw data, documents or objects created at the time of study. Primary sources vary dependent upon the focus of study. For example, for a historian, diaries, letters, newspapers, articles written at the time of an event would be useful. And for a literary scholar, a poem, a short story, or a novel could be important. And if you take a musicologist, notes written by a composer would be the primary sources. Then if you take a biologist, the findings of an original research project would be a primary source. Secondary sources. Secondary sources interpret and analyze the primary sources. So certain sources give you first-hand information. Those are primary sources. And when those primary sources are interpreted and analyzed in a different article or a source, those can be called secondary sources. The secondary sources provide commentary and discussion of a primary source. So for an example, a magazine article that discusses a research study that analyzed data collected from a survey about literacy in rural school districts would be an ideal secondary source of information. Then there are technical reports. It is a formal report designed to convey technical information in a clear and easily accessible format. Technical reports are documents that are prepared for supervisors, subordinates, peers, customers, clients, and various government agencies. They are divided into sections which allow different readers to access different levels of information. A technical report should contain the following sections. So there should be a title page, there should be a summary, contents, introduction, and the sections which make up the body of the report. Then there has to be conclusions, references, bibliography, acknowledgement, and appendices if there are any. Types of technical reports. So they can be progress reports. A progress report is a report, a type of report that reports the progress of certain project or a certain job or something. So if you are reporting or if you are documenting the progress of something, you can be giving a progress report. Then there are feasibility reports. Feasibility reports are something done before a project. So by a feasibility report, you will be reporting to someone how feasible is this project, how good or bad or what outcome would be taken and so on from a particular project. Then there are specifications. There are a set of documents required to be satisfied by a material design product or a service. A specification is often a type of technical standard. So it's also something that you write. It's a technical report that you write before a project is done, before a job is done. So by this report, you will be specializing or mentioning the technical standards that will be reached at the end of the day. Then proposals. The initial document used to define an internal or an external project would be a proposal. So a proposal has to be very convincing and understandable and so on, because it's by way of proposal that you will be proposing something to your superior manager or your supervisor or someone, where they are going to read and understand and be convinced whether or not this project you are proposing is worth doing or otherwise. So a proposal has to be more convincing and understandable in its language and content. Then there are manuals. Manuals are actually something that you develop to explain to someone as to how to use something or how something is done. It's like a guide. Okay. Then there are procedures. Procedure is a document that instructs workers on executing one or more activities of a business process. So if you take an example, you can lay down procedures, write down procedures of how to maintaining a computer lab. So the procedures of maintaining a computer lab would include how often you should uh, clean the computers, how you should turn down computers, how you should turn down power of the lab, how you should turn on the power of the lab, how long to work, how much temperature you are going to use in the computer lab, and so on. So it's all about procedures. What's the process of something? Then planning documents. The project plan can be the ideal example for this. So a planning document is a formal document you make uh, to define the execution and the control stages of a project. So if, let's say, for an example, we are building building a house. Uh, so in building in the planning document or the project plan of building, uh, would be first to get the raw materials, then to find personnel to do it, then laying the foundation, then uh, taking up the walls, and so on. So the different stages of the project will be set out in the project plan or planning documents. Then environmental impact statements. So these are something that you have to take in Sri Lanka. These are very critical documents when you are executing uh, new projects which are critically affecting the environment. You have to go to the uh, government. It's a government document which they set out. This is in Sri Lanka. This is issued by the Central Environmental Authority. If you are building, let's say you are building a power plant, a personal power plant, you will have to go to the Central Environmental Authority and get an environmental impact assessment statement where it tells you how good your project and how bad your project will be to the surrounding environment. Safety analysis report. These are a kind of a document which presents design criteria and preliminary design information for the proposed project. So these are also done before a project is implemented. Then bug reports. These are very critically used in your field, whereas computer systems, computer programs are related. A bug report is something that stores all information needed to document, report, and fix problems occurred in software or on a website. A bug report contains device logs, stack traces, and other diagnostic information to help you find and fix bugs in your app. So there are many other types of technical reports where we have not discussed here. All have a unity of purpose, that is, to convey specific information in an archival way. By archival mean that the document is intended to be stored and referenced for many years. It can't change over day and day, right? It has to be settled on a specific uh, standard, and it has to be maintained and referred in an archival manner. Business communications. Next topic. Business communication is the process of sharing information between employees within and outside the company. So business communications include a wide range of correspondence that must be written in the course of business activities, and so on. So effective business communication is how employees and management interact to each organization or goal. Its purpose is to improve organizational practices and reduce errors. So business communications can be done through various documents such as resumes, cover letters, transmittal letters, customer relation writing, human resource communication, administrative communication, and trip reports, and so on. Then there are scientific writing. Scientific writing is not just writing about science. It is the technical writing that scientists do to communicate their research to others. So if you take a scientific research report, it will be a scientific writing. Scientific writing is predicated on the rigors of scientific inquiry, so it must reflect the same precision as that demanded in the research process. So scientific writing includes experimental research and associated documentation, as well as the scholarly publications that emerge from that work. The scientists and engineers can publish their work in a variety of venues, such as books, journals, magazines, conference proceedings, websites, and so on. Reading methods and techniques. Now you know what the reading sources are and how you can produce reading material. Now let's move on to the techniques and methods of reading. Now, even if you find your reading material, books, referencing material, scholarly articles or anything, you will also have to know the reading techniques and methods to efficiently and effectively read them and make use of them. Reading effectively means reading in a way that helps you understand, evaluate, and reflect on a written text. There are several reading methods and techniques. It is important to learn to distinguish between them and to choose the right method to take or technique according to what you want to achieve. Right. So the reading methods can be listed down as follows: browsing, speed reading, reflective reading, SQ4 method of reading. Let's see. Let's look into each one of these reading methods to understand their specifications. In browsing, you must have a goal for your reading. What are you looking for? You should first know what you are looking for, right? So just as you say browsing, let's browse something and so on, you browse to search for something. You know exactly what you're looking for, right? So you browse not to get a very large amount of information, but to find something very specific. So you have to identify what specific thing you want by browsing the expected topic. So browsing is to get an overview, read only selected parts of the text. These selected parts can be book cover, date of publication, reference, and so on. So even if it's a very big book, you will be able to browse the book for 10 or 20 seconds and grasp what you exactly need. You use a technique called photo reading when you are doing browsing. So you can fix your gaze on the text line and let the gaze slide down quickly. Use a finger in the beginning. You point to the text and move your finger quickly down the zigzag pattern. You will then fix and read the words that you think might be interesting. So you first look for the words by running through your finger through the text. And when you find the word that you want to look for, you will read that particular portion of the text. This gives an overview of the structure and main content of the text. If you are looking for specific information, use a skim reading method called scanning. You use the same technique, but you are very conscious for looking for specific keywords. Okay. Next is speed reading. You read as fast as you can. You should be able to reach up to 500 or 400, 500 words per minute. To achieve this, you must train yourself to not vocalize. Do not move your lips. Hold your finger over your lips to check. So this is how you practice speed reading. Reduce fixation time. Reduce the number of times you gaze stops per line by reading several words at once. You should manage to come down to two or three fixations per line. Reduce skip backs. Avoid letting your gaze revert to previous words and use your index finger or a pen for reading support when you train yourself in speed reading. Next is reflective reading. In this mode, you study the text. This is more comprehensive than the previous two. You think through what is said and grasp what the message is. Make notes, ask questions. Do you agree with the author? Always ask yourself, right? Can you think of alternative explanations? Can you use the information up to anything? And so on. So you have to question throughout the reading process. When you reflect on what you read and work on the content by paraphrasing it or explaining it in your own words, you transform the information to knowledge. Then SQ4R method. So SQ4R method has gained its name by the 6 words or the 6 steps you use in the method itself. So the 6 methods are survey S, question Q, 1R read, 2R respond, 3R record, 4R review. So this is how you do the SQ4R method. This is designed to help process and increase intention of writing information, of written information. Consists of 6 steps that help you guide through your textbook and other written information. One drawback is that it adds time to what you normally set aside for reading. The end benefit is increased understanding of written material and more efficient study. So this SQ4R method may have its own drawback that it consumes so much of time in doing this. But again, it's the best way to understand, and you will have very efficient reading by this because you will be grasping so much more than the previous methods. So the following slides will be telling you how to survey, how to question, how to read, and so on. So specific information about the specific step of the SQ4R method. So these are not very important for me to reiterate to you. If you are really interested in knowing this technique, this internal and exclusive information about these steps, you can always refer to the original material given to you, as well as you can request for this slide, these slideshows, and study them by heart. So I'll be skipping these 6 slides, which has information about each step of SQ4R method. Right. Here we are in skimming, reading techniques. Reading techniques are, there are few reading techniques that you can do. First is skimming. In doing skimming, you will be just reading what you are trying to glance over the material to grasp the main idea. So in doing skimming, you can do the following steps. Take a book at the table of, take a look at the table of contents first. Review the subheadings in each chapter. Quickly read the first paragraph in that section. Check out anything in your text that is in bold or italics. If there is a chapter summary, how now is a good time to read it over. Right? That is skimming. Then we have scanning. Getting your eyes to quickly scuttle across sentences and is used to get just a simple piece of information. These are for scanning is for specific words or phrases. Then intensive reading is far more time consuming than scanning and skimming, but beneficial for language learners. Understanding vocabulary and retention of information for long periods of time and knowledge are main purposes of intensive reading. Then there is extensive reading, which is reading for pleasure. So if you read and enjoy what you are reading and understand what you are reading, that is extensive reading. So if you read a novel or a short story, you will be doing extensive reading. Right. Next is mind maps. So now throughout the steps, you have understood your reading materials and you have understood the techniques and methods of reading. And now let's see how the the identified reading materials and reading them through the proper techniques and methods can help you make mind maps out of what you have technically and methodically read. A mind map is a diagram or a graphic organizer that helps readers visualize that what they are reading and detect connections between individual pieces of information. So it's technically getting into a diagram what you have read and understood. Right? In a classic mind map, you will always find the subject prominently placed in the center of the map canvas with all notes, ideas, and keywords arranged around and center in a radiant structure. So taking notes while is one of the best ways to improve comprehension. Traditional linear notes, however, are not the most effective format for this. So you can't be grasping as much information as you are doing in a traditional linear note as much as you do in a mind map. So mind map is a very visually elaborated uh, diagram where you will look, where you will put certain diagrams into a paper, and when you look at the paper or the mind map you have done, you will refresh your reading memory. This note-taking process is monotonous and encourages students to write whole sentences, which is unnecessarily time-consuming. So when you take notes, you take so much of time writing sentences, completing uh, proper sentences, writing proper grammar, and all that. So mind maps, in contrast, are very helpful in this sense. They are less time-consuming and very well understood by uh, proper visualization. And it also helps you remember the information that you have written and understood, because the picture is going to go into your brain more than just sentences. In comparison to linear notes, mind maps are offer a number of benefits that can aid students in comprehending and retaining the information they read. So, like I said, there are so many benefits in doing mind maps rather than doing linear notes. Mm, So there are certain instances, there may be instances where you sometimes don't understand what you read, but you just do the mind. And once you are done reading, and once your mind map is completed, you will finally understand what is said in the text. So something that you may not have understood until the mind map is completed. So likewise, there are so many benefits in doing mind maps in comparison to doing linear notes. So mind mapping is perfect for brainstorming and visualizing concepts, presenting and communicating ideas, graphic organizers and electronic workbooks, running meetings more effectively, outlining reports and documents, simplifying tasks and project management, and writing essays. So these, you should always train yourself to do mind maps of what you read. There are essential characteristics of mind mapping. The main idea or the subject or focus in crystallized in a central image. Then the main theme, then branches comprising of the key image or keywords. Then topics of lesser importance are presented as twigs, and the branches from a connected nodal structure. So these are the 5 essential characteristics of mind mapping. There are 6 easy steps to mind map. This is also taken from your initial, the original reading material, that is a study material that is provided for you. So you can either go through that or request for this slideshow, whereas you can study the same. Mind maps can be created by simply using a pen and paper or an online tool. So either you can be using a computer, you can use a board, you can use a paper and pen, or something that is convenient for you. So if you are using an online mind mapping tools, there are certain mind mapping tools such as MindMeister, um, Xmind, MindMap, and so on. So you can try either way to see which one fits the best for you. So there are certain benefits in creating mind maps. It's faster, and rearranging branches and formatting is much easier, because if you write sentences and words, rearranging would not be very easy because you have to cut and paste and alter and all that. But then if it's just about uh, mind mapping, you can just take the whole branch out and connect to the particular fitting joint. You do not run out of space as you tend to do with large mind maps on paper. So if you are doing a software, like these are the benefits you get when you are creating mind maps with a software. So you can always have space when you are doing the mind map on a software. You can cut and paste easily and rearrange branches. You can take unlimited notes and attach files. Then some commercial mind mapping software tools enable you to export your mind map to Word, PowerPoint, Excel project, or uh, any Office platform without re-entering information. So this is a very good way to like using softwares is a good way to do mind maps in your arena of work. So this is one example mind map that I have taken from your original study material. So yeah, likewise, you can use the particular softwares designed for mind mapping and do your mind mapping according to what you read. Mind maps, this is another example for a mind map. So yes, another example for mind map. You can do it as you like, using colors, shapes, and everything. So I think the reading and reading techniques and mind mapping lesson is completed by now. Let's meet up in the next session, which is the next chapter of your study.